Flash Season 2, Episode 3, Family of Rogues. I don't know what family is, but Family of Rogues. A fun episode. Is pretty interesting that we got to see two of the rogues. We didn't get to see Heatwave, which I thought was very interesting. If that's the right name, I could be wrong. But I was very shocked that we didn't get to see him. But based on the story they told, the next rogue-based episode could be pretty interesting where Mick basically took off. It was like, oh crap, these two people got taken down. I'm getting the heck out of here with the money. So I'm hoping they kind of go with that route where that's actually what they take up, where we get to see them find Mick again and it becomes just a part of the main episode where they have a bit of an issue and they actually fight each other for a little bit. At least, the Snarts, I guess, and Heatwave. So I'd love to see that happen in the next episode. But this one was very interesting because we get to meet their father, and they have a very serious story with his character where he was abusive to his kids. They both hate him, really, and basically his whole thing is like, well, my son is a great criminal. I'll just threaten my daughter and say I'll blow her head up, and I'll force my son to work with me so that I can do whatever I want. So I love the dramatic story that they told because it was very interesting. It wasn't just like, oh, we just don't like our dad or he doesn't like us because we're criminals. It's like he's like an even worse criminal. He just kills people all the time, and he beat us as his own children. So we got some pretty interesting backstory with them. We got some amazing moments from both the Snart children, and I love that. We had stuff with Cisco and Gold Glider, which was really good, which ultimately leads to a kiss at the end, which I thought was pretty cool for Cisco. And the stuff with Snart, and every time I say Snart, I of course do something just thinking of Leonard, but Captain Cold, I'll just do it simple. His moments where he had to deal with, it was mostly through his looks, which I thought was actually really good. I thought that just shows how well it's acted. But it was just visually, the way he would look at his father, like when he killed the first guy and he blew his head up, like the look that he had was just like, this is the man I'm dealing with and I don't have a choice. And then there's this scene where Barry, got shot, and he's just like, sorry, Barry, and it's like, I have to save my sister because she matters more than anybody else. And I just love that about his character. He's of course a villain, but he is the relatable villain that they have, where it's like, this is the one out of all the villains that the show has had, this is the one you can like. So I love getting to see another moment of that. Getting to see the cold gun was pretty cool. He actually froze Barry when they first meet up in this episode, which was really funny when he's like, Snart, and he's like, Barry. And it was just a funny little scene. I like that part. And then we also get to see the heat weaving, apparently, that Cisco implemented into this new version of the suit. So that was kind of cool, where it just heats the suit up automatically to get him out of situations like that. So that was a pretty cool scene. For some reason, it was very simple, but I love the scene where Captain Cold freezes the lasers and he just breaks them. I just thought that was a cool looking scene because it's like, well, now what? And then he just walks through with his hands up and just shatters it all. It's like, I told you I had a better way. I was like, man, that just looked really cool. I don't know if that's even remotely possible, and I'm pretty sure it's not, because I know you can use smoke to see lasers, like they do that in movies. Like, that makes sense, because something infrared, you can make it where if you see smoke, the parts that you can't see are being messed up because there are lasers going through it. But being able to just flat out freeze a laser, unless that was, well, even if it was a heat ray, like heat lasers that would actually kill people, you wouldn't be able to just freeze them like that unless you froze the actual endpoints. But he just froze the laser straight up. So like I said, don't know if that is even remotely possible, but it looked cool. I still loved how that scene looked. I was like, that's really cool that he just froze the lasers, and it basically put the whole thing on a delay. So I love that, and he just walked through. Barry playing a villain towards the end there was pretty interesting. I didn't expect, Colonel Cold, I didn't expect him to shoot Barry, so that was a pretty surprising scene for me. I was like, oh crap, he just doesn't care. He helped him out and everything, and he just pulled a gun on him, boom, like, I'm not sharing my money, screw you. So I didn't see that part coming, but it was definitely fun. Then, of course, they had the tension at the end, like, is Cisco going to be able to get the bomb out of Golden Glider, and how's this stuff going to play out? And then everything works out fine, and Captain Cold kills his father, and I was like, holy crap, that was it was just very dramatic and it was very interesting. And at first, I didn't think he killed him because he shot him with like the tiniest blast. Like I know if he holds it on someone, of course they're dead. But it was like, and he shot him and it was like ice right here. I'm like, he'd be frostbitten like right here, but he'd live from that. Like that's no big deal. And then basically when he fell, it looked like the ice shot through his entire body. Like that's what it looked like when he fell. It looked like there was a spike sticking straight up out of his heart. So that was a pretty cool scene. And Bear's like, your sister was safe. Why'd you do that? And it was like, because, I forgot. I wish I could remember the exact line, but there's just like I believe that it was the line where he says he hates his father more than he hates Barry is when he actually first shoots him. But I can't remember what he said after he actually killed him. Oh, I remember now. He was like, he broke my sister's heart, so it's only fair I broke his. I was like, that's just a cool line. And it was just a great moment for his character. It was like a great episode, like dramatically speaking. That's what this episode was about. It wasn't like, oh, it's the Rogues again pulling off heists and stuff. It was drama on both ends. It was like Golden Glider kind of telling her story, Captain Cole doing the same thing from his side and being forced to work with his father, who he hates, in order to save his younger sister. And I love that. I thought it was actually great to get an emotional dynamic to these characters, and that's really fun. That was really fun to watch. And Captain Cold's always like the thinking character. It's always something mentally, but this was definitely like emotional mentally. It wasn't just like, oh, he had some great scheme or something. This was just like flat out, I have to save my sister because she's the only one I care about. And that's why he had to deal with his father, who he truly hates. And he actually gets arrested at the end of this episode. He is in Ironhide by the end of this episode. So that was very interesting. And we'll see what happens, because Heatwave is out there somewhere, and then Golden Glider, she drives off in her motorcycle. So the Rogues right now, oddly enough, are completely disbanded. So I'm actually very curious about what they do with this next episode. How Snart's going to get out, because of course he will. We all know that for sure. He's in another show. I guess I won't spoil it because if you haven't seen the trailers, you don't know. But there's some other stuff that he's involved in. So I'm definitely looking forward to how all that stuff plays out. It's very cool. Then, even though that was the main story, very fun, there was a lot of craziness in this episode. And there were two really crazy moments, and of course both take place towards the end. Because we have the portal being worked on by Jay Garrick, pretty much just Jay Garrick. He was trying to get Caitlin to help him out, but then it was just like, we need you right up here because, Team Flash. But he's working on the portal the whole time. He fixes it by the end. And we had the stuff with Stein last episode where he passed out. And so they had him monitored up and stuff, and he felt like he was fine. He throws his little, heart monitor through the portal, and everything works. It doesn't bounce back. The portal is 100% successful. And then he not only passes out, but goes into like a pseudo firestorm mode where first he's red, and I was like, okay, so this ties in with my theory of, the Earth 2 thing, where it's like, okay, now that they have a stable connection, he senses Ronnie even more, and it's something about them being split up, just, forced to split up, because they didn't do it by choice, really. It was like that weird explosive thing that was supposed to kill them, and it instead separated them. It didn't actually kill them. And I was like, okay, so maybe they're linked in a new way now, because Ronnie was sucked into Earth 2, and it just made perfect sense. Like, now that this portal's open, they have, a stronger connection, and it's just like straight through this wormhole. And so that's why he basically set on fire. It was so close to Ronnie, just much closer. I mean, obviously still on different planets, but still a much closer connection than normal. So I figured that's what happened, and it could still be the case. We still technically don't know, but he goes from red to blue, so that was very interesting. And blue flames are hotter than red flames, for anyone who didn't know. So not sure why that happened, but it was definitely interesting. His eyes go black and stuff, which was crazy. And this next episode, we get the new Firestorm, and I'm very curious how they're going to play this out. I thought for sure that was going to be Earth 2 Firestorm, so I was surprised to see that they actually go out and find someone who has the ability to be a metahuman. So I'm looking forward to that, because I'd love to get like an explanation on latent metahuman abilities, because that just seems really cool. It's a new concept we haven't had. But that was one. And then, of course, number two, I swear, they don't want Harrison Wells to be a good guy, period. And I mentioned this before, and it was kind of just a silly joke before when I was like, every Harrison Wells is probably evil, and the only good one was in season 1, and he got killed off by Eobard Thawne. And then that kind of seems like what they're doing at the end of this episode, because he comes through the portal, and it could easily be just the fact that it's Star Labs. So if there are 52 portals in Earth 1, that just means there are 52 as well in Earth 2, and the biggest one is still going to be in Star Labs. So that made perfect sense, and maybe he'd been working on stuff we still don't really know, but he comes through and he does not look happy. He's not just like, wow, Earth, a different Earth. He comes through full-on evil look on his face, and it's like, is he just never going to be a good person, period? Like, it's still... If he turns out to be a nice person, that would be the biggest twist this whole season so far. Because honestly, everything is just like, okay, Harrison Wells, his first introduction, slightly menacing with the hello children stuff. It's like, he doesn't give a crap about these kids. He can just be as plain as he wants. No big deal. This episode, he comes in and it's just like full on evil look on his face. He's mad for some reason, because he's evil, I guess. I don't know. But that happens, so... I'm hoping that he's in the next episode and it's not like he looked around a little bit and then, took off. Because I'm pretty sure it was late at night. The only person that would be there would be Jay Garrick, because I'm assuming that's where he's staying right now. So I'm not 100% sure, but I'm looking forward to that. Those are the two big things for sure. We had another really big moment with just the Joe storyline as far as him dealing with his wife, and we get this backstory about how his wife was a drug addict and that's why she took off, and he told everyone that she passed away. And we get like the official story that he did tell everyone that she passed away, because it was kind of just implied in the last season that she was dead because they never talked about it, and they made it seem like, oh, she died. It wasn't like, oh, she left, because people talk about that stuff. It's not like you get super upset and then never mention the fact that she left. You just don't say that she died, because that just makes it sadder. So they had that very implied, and it was very cool that she came back this season. And this episode was pretty cool. It was Joe having to figure out, and I totally, I don't blame him or have an issue with what he was thinking, because when he told her, like, right now, like, you're too late, I thought that was actually a good line. I thought it made perfect sense, because she took off. And it was like, she wasn't doing good beforehand when she was actually there. She apparently passed out because she almost overdosed when she had, I'm forgetting her name. I can't even think of his daughter's name. Iris. She was with Iris at home, but she like overdosed on drugs. So she wasn't exactly the best parent anyway. And then she took off after that. And just poof, she's gone. She leaves rehab and vanishes. And so it's like, well, she's so young, I'll just tell her that she died. And now we're going to get to see Iris meet her mother for the first time, which I assume is going to happen in the next episode as well. But that was pretty cool. Like, Joe had to figure out, what am I going to do? Like, she wasn't a great mom. I've told everyone she's been dead for like 20 years. What the heck am I going to do now? So I thought it was pretty interesting watching him have to deal with that, and he tells Barry and he tries to get advice from him, and then he does decide to tell Iris, and now she knows the truth. Now she knows that her mother is actually alive. And unfortunately, she didn't hate her father for that, because it's like, well, you're trying to be a protective father, and he definitely was. So I like that storyline as well. We get to see a little bit more of Spivot and Barry. She totally misread what he was saying, and she gives him his number, and he was just like, that's totally what I meant. And I just love that scene, and she felt really, really embarrassed. And he made it kind of awkward and stuff. They both did, because they're both nerdy, and it's funny. But I'm looking forward to that relationship expanding and seeing how that works out, as a actual relationship and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Iris gets on the front page of the news in this episode, which is very, quick scene, but that's pretty cool for her. And I don't think there's anything else really big that happened in this episode. Those are pretty much all the big things, but it was a fun one. I love the ending, the stuff with Stein and Harrison coming through the portal. Still don't really know about that. Like the Firestorm thing, they basically answered the question in the preview. Like, they're going to get this other kid. boom, they're gonna fuse him with Stein, and we'll see how that plays out because it's not necessarily gonna be the same thing. It could be that Stein, you know, doesn't take over the mind or anything like that. So we'll see how it works out. And plus, they basically had a symbiotic relationship before Ronnie, died again. So we'll see how their bonding process actually works for the very first time, and I'm looking forward to that. Plus, new superpower, so it looks pretty sweet. But love this episode, of course. Want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. And I want to know what your thoughts are on what happened with Stein. Like, do you think he did pass out because there's some crazy, interdimensional connection that he still has with Ronnie because of the forced separation, or do you guys think it was just the fact that he used so much of his power? They both did, really, physically and mentally, that it kind of just messed them both up. Wherever Ronnie ends up being, it kind of just messed them both up, and that's why Stein is kind of passing out and, of course, going full fire mode. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, I just thought of this, Ronnie is technically inside of Stein's mind, and it's almost like Firestorm but in reverse, and Stein doesn't know, and that's why he was able to do the fire. But that's just a random thing that I literally just thought of because it kind of makes sense how he was still able to go into the actual Firestorm mode without Ronnie, is because maybe they are both still in the same body, and they're basically just reversed because they use their abilities and the piece blew up. So maybe that's how it took place. I just thought of that, like I said, so now I have to think about that and figure that out myself. But I want to know why, what your speculations are as far as what is happening with Stein. I believe that was the question I had before, but now it's gotten even crazier. It wasn't just, oh, he passed out. He went full-on Firestorm mode, and he went Blue Flame Firestorm, which looked really sweet too. But he also got like the crazy black alien eye style. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.